This is Connor High, and welcome back to the Wild Stang Radio Sports Hour at Stevenson University, where this week we're looking at Week 12 in the NFL, starting with the game of last night. Sunday Night Football, we had the Rams versus the Buccaneers. It was a blowout from the moment it started, and Matthew Stafford has really established himself this year. Once again, really, over the past few years in LA, he has really done he's been banged up. But the first year he was there, he won the Super Bowl, and then he's kind of just been a top 5 quarterback under the radar. It's a weird thing to say because you look at Matthew Stafford and you're like, all right, well, he barely has a winning record. Like, he got it this season for a career. He's 117 and 115 in his career. So he's 2 games above 500 and over 230 starts. And you start to wonder, what kind of quarterback is it? Is it like a Derek Carr situation? No, he just played in Detroit. This guy played in Detroit, and he had to deal with those offenses over there. And ever since going to this Rams team, he has been unbelievable. They have been a top 5 offense nearly every year, barring 2022 when they dealt with a lot of injuries, and he only played 9 games. They have been a top 5 offense every single year. And this year, it seems they're taking it to a new level because he started the season with 0 touchdowns, 2 picks. Ever since then, he's rattled off 30 consecutive touchdown passes. I don't know if I've ever heard of that happening. I know Aaron Rodgers has done some crazy stuff, but 30 touchdowns and no picks from a pocket passer is impressive. It is unbelievably impressive for a pocket passer to do that while leading a team that is 9-2 and just manhandling the Bucs last night. And it begs the question, let's get the MVP talks out of it for a second because he's right now in that conversation. He's right there with Jonathan Taylor, Daniel Jones, and the other guys for the MVP. But let's talk about his Hall of Fame case for a second because I just said it. He barely has a 500 record for a career. But he does have 400 touchdowns, 190 picks, and he's such an interesting case because when you look at Matthew Stafford, you're like, yeah, guy's a Hall of Famer. Like, he's a great quarterback, unbelievable. But when you look at his stats, he's really, at least for my standards, overrated as far as his stats go. I would think that he would be a big touchdown guy. You know, he's in Detroit, he's throwing a ton of touchdowns, they just can't get it done. But when you look at his stats, they're not what you would expect them to be. His highest touchdown number was 41, and he only reached 30 one other time in Detroit. The rest are like low 20s and then a couple 29s. And then he goes to L.A., 41 again, which is great. And obviously he's been better in L.A. in my opinion. But this year he's on another level, and this really helps his MVP case because it was kind of a 50-50, like, is Stafford going to make the Hall of Fame? I guess. But he only has 2 Pro Bowls, and he's won 1 Super Bowl, and he was really not in a good situation in Detroit, and they never really won anything. But he's got a comeback player of the year now. He's got a Pro Bowl, or 2 Pro Bowls under his belt. He's got a Super Bowl under his belt. He only has 1 top 10 MVP finish, but he's going to have another this year pretty much no matter what now. And I think the MVP case is kind of solidifying itself with a really strong push at the end of his career. I think this is exactly what he needed to get himself back into that conversation. I think quarterbacks over every other position have a very easy time of getting into the NFL or a Hall of Fame. Just take a look at Eli Manning. Really not a great resume, just the 2 Super Bowls that he had. And Stafford is, I think, a better quarterback than Eli Manning. And I think this final push that he's having here, especially this year where he's got 30 touchdowns to 2 picks, is ridiculous. I mean, he's got an 8 touchdown percentage on the year. 8% of his passes are touchdowns, which is by far his highest of his career. Yeah, it's been fun to watch him. And the guy he went against the other night was Baker Mayfield, and it really, it's not fun for Baker Mayfield right now. The Bucs team is really banged up, and they've been playing bad football the past 3 weeks. But they've also had to go through an absolute gauntlet. They had to play the Patriots in Lambeau, or in Gillette, and then they had to play the Bills. Then they had to play the Rams, and it's like, wow. You got to play those 3 teams back to back to back with all of your guys hurt. And you haven't had Bucky Irving, and who knows if Bucky Irving plays again this season. There's a lot of controversy there. That's for another time, though. But Baker Mayfield last night, down like 24-7 at half, he goes to throw a Hail Mary and strains his shoulder. So those early season MVP talks have kind of gone by the wayside now, and that begs the question, what's going to happen in the NFC South? And you look at the NFC South and you have the Panthers, who are literally tied with the Bucs now, so they don't even have the sole possession. So if the Panthers can pull off a win tonight, the Buccaneers will still have the tiebreaker, but they will now be a half a game back of the Panthers, which the Panthers are currently down 7-3. And if the Panthers can get ahead right here, and Baker Mayfield misses next week, there is a open lane for the Panthers to go straight to the playoffs and host a playoff game, which would be, just on a personal note, shocking, because it is the Panthers, and Bryce Young is, kind of up and down, and they've allowed 40 more points than they've scored this year. But the Buccaneers have opened that door for them by playing really bad football recently and having to play a really tough schedule. And if Baker Mayfield's out for as long as I think he might be, this could be a lost season, and that's what gets guys like Todd Bowles, who has been a proven adequate, not great coach. It's what get guys like that fired. So that is going to be a situation to watch throughout the season. But I want to talk about another guy who needs to be fired. Kevin Patullo, the Eagles offensive coordinator, needs to be fired. It's a done deal now. Or at least somebody else has to take the play call duties, which I don't know if I trust Sirianni to do that. But they were up 21-0 on a Cowboys defense that is statistically one of the bottom 5 defenses in the NFL. And I think a lot of people would argue that it is the worst defense in the NFL. And somehow they didn't score another point after halftime. They went scoreless in the second half against the Cowboys. And those type of performances, there's nothing else you need to see anymore. You have the best running back in the NFL, who proved it last season, averaging 3.7 yards a carry, and he has not lost a step. You watch the games. He's getting hit in the backfield on every play. And the play calls are just so dull and unoriginal and just basic, and it's just not fun to watch. And, of course, they have the tush push, an automatic for 1 yard. But outside of that, they haven't had a play they can go to and be like, yeah, we can get 4th and 1 or 4th and 3. Let's go 4th and 3. What can we get right here? The Chiefs have had their play. The Chiefs used to run a little dig route up, or a zig at the top of the screen to their wide receiver with a little pick route over the top, and they would get it every single time. Every team has their play where they can get it on 4th and 3. This is the play we trust. We're going to go to it. The Eagles, I don't think, have that play. They don't have a passing play they can trust because Jalen Hurts has not been an efficient thrower of the football this year. They don't have a receiver who they trust to truly get open and catch the ball right now, which I don't want to blame Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown because I think they're playing fine. I just don't think that they've been given enough opportunities. And then they don't have any room for Barkley to run. Some linemen have missed time over there with Juergens, Johnson, and Dickerson. They've missed a combined 4 games. But as far as a team goes, Kevin Patullo is hurting it as a whole. And not just Saquon Barkley, not just A.J. Brown, but as a whole, he is hurting the team. And the fact that they're 8-3 shows you how good the roster is. And the fact that they have 3 losses, and the 3 losses that they have are to the Giants and the Cowboys, it's concerning that they are able to lose games like that. And they're up 21-0, and then they blow it to this. I don't get it. I don't get how that happens. It's crazy. It's a team that should be maybe undefeated right now. They're beating teams like the Eagles. Their defense is playing great, by the way, which a complete 180 from earlier in the year. They've beaten teams like the Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings, and the Buccaneers, and then the Rams and the Chiefs. This team has gone through a very tough schedule, and defense has held up, and the offense is just not scoring points. So something needs to change, and I think Kevin Patullo, this is the second week in a row I'm saying this now, is that Kevin Patullo is the main guy outside of Sirianni, who they're not going to fire at this point. But Patullo is a joke. I mean, this is a joke with their offense this year. Their offensive line is supposed to be one of the best in the league. It has not looked that way this year. I don't know if that's to blame on Patullo or what, but it's been a problem. It's something that needs to change, and I think all Eagles fans can kind of agree with that. especially A.J. Brown fantasy owners and Saquon fantasy owners. It's something that has been a growing problem over the past few weeks and has really, really put on full display in primetime last night. It was something that I think the whole world saw, and I think something's got to change next week. And this was a game that I marked down as one of my 3 big games last week because I wanted to see what the Eagles would do and how they would respond to struggling so much 2 weeks in a row. Because they beat the Lions the week before, and it was 16-9. It was an ugly game. The Lions couldn't do anything against that defense, but the Eagles couldn't do anything against the Lions. And Barkley ran for 3.1 a carry, and Hurts had less than 200 yards. Of course he did. Like, this was the game that you wanted to try something, do new things. And the first half, you looked really solid. And then in the second half, you had a flurry of errors, both by your defense, by Saquon himself fumbling the ball, and then by the punt return, fumbling it there as well. But then you have the offense that's just so stagnant and so basic. It's just, I don't know how many playoff games this team can win if their offense is going to put up 20 points a game. It's going to be tough for them. They're like a 25th in the league right now, I think, in points per game, which is unacceptable for what they are and what their roster is. So I think Patullo is, as all Eagles fans have seen, not up to the job. I think it's time to switch if you want to win another Super Bowl and go back-to-back, which this team 100% can do. No matter how I feel about Jalen Hurts, like as a thrower, he is a capable quarterback, a leader. The team respects him. The fans love him at times. And the receivers are amazing on this team. The offensive line is still amazing on this team. Saquon Barkley, like I said, is the best running back in the NFL, in my opinion. And with the right guy calling the plays and with the right players executing them, I think this team will be walking to the Super Bowl again because they're that good. They're that good of a team. Howie Roseman is unbelievable at building teams like this, but Kevin Patullo is kind of tearing it down right now. It was a crazy week in football. I got a lot more opinions to share when we come back in 10 minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Stevenson Sports Hour with Connor High, where we are covering Week 12 in the NFL. Let's start with the Chiefs holding on to that playoff spot, trying to stay in it. I saw a stat during their game while they're playing the Colts, and it's a back-and-forth game where the Chiefs are just missed opportunity after missed opportunity, and they're so close to getting that one play that wins them the game, and then it gets called back to a penalty, or they just overthrow a deep ball. They've been so close all season. They ended up beating them. And the stat during the game was the Chiefs were, if they lost, I think 24% that they were going to make the playoffs. That was their odds. And if they had won, it's up to 55%. So this was a huge game for them. And to beat the Colts is just, for anybody this year, is a big win. Of course, Daniel Jones played great again, but let's focus on the Chiefs, where Patrick Mahomes just threw for a ton of yards, but left a lot on the field. He just had a lot of throws that he wasn't making. And I think part of it was he was forced to play a little bit of hero ball because the team wasn't really moving the football on the ground as they usually don't. Kareem Hunt had 100 yards, but he did it on 30 carries, which was 3.4 per carry, which is, for you non-NFL like running back watchers, not good. 3.4 is not a good yards per carry. And he only had the one touchdown. But the Chiefs were able to win out. That was a huge win for them. It doesn't put them in a spot to potentially win the division because I think that's kind of, out of their reach now. But they do have that 6-5 record, and it puts them close to being in the playoffs. I don't think they're number 7 yet, but they're very close. Just a couple more wins, they'll be in the playoffs, and everybody knows this Chiefs team is not going to miss the playoffs. If they had lost, maybe, but it's almost like when Brady would have a season where it's like, oh, the Patriots are not the number 1 team in the AFC East right now. They're competing with the Dolphins, and then the next year the Patriots were 16-1. It's stuff like that where you know that this Chiefs team is not going to fall off. It's Patrick Mahomes at the helm and Andy Reid coaching, so it's going to be tough for this team to lose games. But it was a very, very big win in a kind of a regression game for the Colts because they had a ton of opportunities too. They just couldn't capitalize. And then speaking of capitalizing, let's talk about what Jackson Smith-Njigba, the receiver for the Seattle Seahawks, has done with Sam Darnold at quarterback. He has, first of all, already broken the Seahawks receiving record for a season, and it's week 11 that he did, or in his 11th game of the season, I'm sorry. In his 11th game of the season, he already broke the single season record for the Seahawks for receiving yards at 1,300. He has 80 catches. He has 7 touchdowns. He's by far the number one receiver in the NFL right now. And he has just been, I mean, his worst game this year is 79 yards. He has been as reliable as any receiver we have seen in the past few years. I mean, the dude is every single game just, he's been over double-digit targets in over half the games this year. Has had some really, really big games, couple 160-yard games. He's been unbelievable. He's had a really, really good start to this year, and he's in that Offensive Player of the Year spot right now. Him and Jonathan Taylor are going to be fighting that out. But there's a bigger thing to look at rather than the Offensive Player of the Year award. How about the Calvin Johnson receiving yard award, or receiving record? He is already on pace to break that, averaging 119 yards a game. He is on pace to break Calvin Johnson's record and be the first receiver to ever hit 2,000 yards. That would be, we saw this a few years ago with Cooper Kupp, and I'm noticing a trend around the NFL, and it is a little disheartening because I do miss the true X Factor wide receiver number one, the big 6'4" guy like Julio Jones out wide. But I think over the past few years, what NFL offensive coordinators and quarterbacks themselves have preferred is the slot type archetype, I guess I would call it, for a receiver. Like this 6 foot, 197 pound, runs routes like Hunter Renfrow type receiver. He is unbelievable. He can run every route in the route tree. He can line up anywhere. And I think that just fits better into offensive coordinators' playbooks. Because Julio Jones was, I'm going to compare him to Julio Jones real quick, because I want to talk about why I think the offensive coordinators and why the NFL itself loves this type of player. Because when you look at Julio Jones, he was a freak of nature. He was 6'3". He could run like a horse. I mean, he ran like a 4.4, and he could go up and high point a football like nobody else could. But you probably wouldn't want to line him up inside the numbers too often. You didn't want to line him up in the slot, make him run a crossing route. You were more of a deep ball guy, wide receiver X type routes, not the inside Y guy. And with Jackson Smith-Njigba, that's not what you get. You can line him up on any part of the field because he can really do it all. And with his ability to get open on a consistent basis, that makes your offense that much easier. That makes your play calling that much more wide open, where you can call pretty much anything you want because this dude will create separation on it. So I think what you're seeing with like the Cooper Kupps, with the Jamar Chases, with the Jackson Smith-Njigbas, you're seeing this type of receiver become more popularized. And I think that's just the natural trend of the NFL, where you're going to see different types of players have success. And this is going to be what I think we see a lot more of. And I think that the trend is going to continue to grow. I think Ryan Williams might end up becoming that type of receiver. He's a receiver at Alabama right now. He's not exactly having the greatest success, but I do think this is the type of receiver that we love. Mekhi Lemon is a great example at USC, by the way. But Jackson Smith-Njigba is having an unbelievable year. 2,000 yards is in reach. I'm not going to say he's going to get it because it's very difficult to get. It would be amazing if he did, but we've seen some really good receivers go after that record and fall just short. So we'll see if him and Darnold keep this up, even with Darnold's struggles in the past. I think Darnold has been amazing this year. His deep ball accuracy has been amongst the best in the league. So this is a dynamic duo, and they're really taking advantage of both of each other, really breaking out at the right time. Another guy I'd really like to see break out is Shedeur Sanders. Had a really solid game against the Raiders. Did some things that I think... he's already earned the starting spot for next week, but I think he's done enough to maybe earn that spot for the rest of the season, because what he did that Dillon Gabriel hasn't done is he showed some flashes of absolute brilliance. And the most notable, of course, was rolling out to his right under pressure and throwing a 50-yard bomb on the run and just dropping it right in the basket of his receiver. and it landed just short of the goal line. But it was one of those throws that you're like, okay, well, that's an NFL throw. That is a throw that is. I mean, that's what you want out of your young quarterback. You want to see something like that. And Dillon Gabriel hasn't given you enough to where you're like, all right, we're going to bench Shedeur. No. I think Kevin Stefanski has seen enough to where Shedeur Sanders is going to play until he plays like he did in that Ravens game again. If he plays that bad, I'm certain he will bench him because obviously Shedeur does not have the greatest track record of being a humble guy or a team player. But with talent in the NFL, you play it. So I think with Shedeur Sanders, you're going to see him start for quite a while. I don't think Dillon Gabriel is going to take that starting job back this season. Obviously, got a couple things to work out over there. Judkins got hurt in this game, came back. We'll see if he's healthy for next week. And then you have really no receiving core. Jerry Jeudy is bad this season. He had a breakout year last year, but he's bad, trust me. He's made some really bad plays. But Myles Garrett is going for the sack record, so that's a thing. He's at 18 sacks already, which is ridiculous. He had 3 sacks again last week. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that as the season goes along. But it was really nice to see Shedeur Sanders finally get a chance. Now, granted, he did do it against the Raiders, which is not saying much. But I think it's going to be a really. I think people are going to be surprised at how well he plays. I think he's going to keep this team competitive because this defense is good enough to do that for him. But then looking at the Raiders, they fired Chip Kelly. I don't. Yeah, I guess. I mean, he's the offensive coordinator over there, and sure, he deserved to be fired with how bad the offense has been. But it's not his fault because that offense had no chance with the offensive line they have. They are the worst offensive line I've ever seen. So this team needs a complete rehaul, and Pete Carroll will be gone at the end of the year. I'm almost certain of it. So that's his days are numbered. But then speaking of a guy who really is going to be gone at the end of the year, JJ McCarthy. Sorry about that. We're back here now. And it's back to J.J. McCarthy and what his struggles have been. And this is a guy who came out last year, got drafted last year, and Sam Darnold was the starter, obviously played really well, wasn't supposed to, so it made for a tough decision for Kevin O'Connell and his coaching staff. And from what we're hearing over the past week or so is that McConnell didn't really want McCarthy. And that's always a problem when you have a head coach who has to deal with a young quarterback who you know is going to be kind of a project. And it's showing because J.J. McCarthy is statistically the second worst quarterback as far as QBR goes since 2000. And the only one worse is a certain guy named Jamarcus Russell. So, it hasn't been a great year. And we're hearing that if Carson Wentz was able to throw a football right now, he would be the starter. A lot of bad things coming out of Minnesota right now. Obviously, it's a down year for them, and they're coming. And obviously, Darnold was great in Seattle this year so far, and that's gotta hurt to look at. So there's a lot of. This is a lot of rumors coming out of Minnesota, and it's not all smoke is going to be fire. But there is a considerable amount of smoke, so we'll see how long J.J. McCarthy has, because he has been really bad, and he hasn't shown any flashes. At certain points earlier in the year, people were saying he was playing well. He statistically was not playing well. Like, he was not completing a lot of passes, and the passes he was completing were not downfield, and he was not playing a high level of defense, and he was not playing that great in general. So it is going to be a question mark for J.J. McCarthy. And we'll see if Kevin O'Connell can fix him. That's really the best thing we can hope for. And obviously, we want J.J. McCarthy to do well, but he has not done it so far. And it hasn't been fun to watch, which is the opposite of what we could say about the game in Detroit this weekend. And we got to see, which we all love, classic Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston When he's playing football, football is better. We watched him play in Detroit and just absolutely take it to that Lions defense. Let's just talk about his statistics before we go into everything else. 18 of 36, he's completing 50% of his passes. He completed 18 passes for 366 yards. Unreal. That's classic Jameis Winston. Deep ball or nothing. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Again, classic. And then, of course, he added in a receiving touchdown, a 33-yard receiving touchdown, which is just, it was so fun. It's so fun watching this guy play because he really is an okay quarterback. Like, he would be a great bridge guy, which is what the Giants are hoping he is. But I mean, I want this guy to be a starter every year. It should be mandatory for the NFL to have this guy start for a QB needing team every single week. Like, it doesn't matter what team, just put him in an offense, call a vertical route, and just let him rip it. Let him throw it downfield. This guy is so fun to watch. He puts on good football. I mean, they almost beat the Lions in Detroit. It took a miracle overtime win and Jahmyr Gibbs running for 219 yards for them to beat them. What a fun game. And Jameis Winston never change. Never change. And I'm hoping the NFL takes my advice. Just make this guy start every week. He is so fun. And he's a good face. I mean, he does everything right. He's religious. Everybody loves him. All his teammates love him. He's a great guy. It makes for fun football when he's playing. But now let's look ahead to Week 13 in the NFL, where we look at the 4 most competitive games, starting with the Chiefs and the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. This game right here could mean a lot for both teams because, like we said, the Chiefs have upped their playoff chances to 50%, and the Cowboys are kind of, with that win last week, saved their playoff chances. So, but this game really, whoever loses it, I think, has a chance of missing the playoffs. I think the Cowboys, if they lose, they will. The Chiefs obviously have less of a chance to miss, but if they do lose, they're back to 6-6, and they're already third in their division, so it makes it a lot tougher for them. This game, for me, it's Thanksgiving, and it's the Cowboys in Dallas. Give me the Chiefs by 20. I think the Chiefs are going to go in there and really set the tone early and just plow through a Cowboys defense that has not been great. Granted, they did get Quinnen Williams. I don't think it'll matter that much. The Chiefs are better. The Chiefs should win this game, and I think this would be a really fun game to watch. The Chiefs put up a lot of points. And then we get something that is not really as known yet, because we don't know if he's going to play, but the Bengals at the Ravens. Joe Burrow might be starting, which is every Ravens fan's worst nightmare right now because y'all are in the playoff hunt, but you're not there yet. And you're right there with the Steelers, and the Steelers are winning games, and you need to win as many as possible. And if Joe Burrow plays, that makes your job a lot harder. So, and obviously didn't have a clean game against the Jets last week. If the Ravens didn't, so this would be a nightmare scenario if Joe Burrow were to suit up and play. But if he does, that makes this game really, really fun to watch. And then we look at the Cardinals at the Buccaneers, and again, is Baker Mayfield playing? If Baker Mayfield's not playing, then that makes the Cardinals' life and potential chance to make the playoffs better, and the Buccaneers' life miserable because you're running out of time to pull away in that division because the Panthers are right on your heels, and the Panthers are a 50-50 team. Like right now, they're I think down 10-3 at halftime to a team where they've already gotten 3 interceptions. They're not the best team, but they can win games. They've proven it. They beat Green Bay in Lambeau this year. This Panther team could win. This Panther team could win out and be a playoff team. But this Cardinals-Buccaneers game, this is a big game. And is Baker Mayfield playing is the big question. Can't wait to see that. That would be a very big storyline if he does not. And then we got 49ers at Browns. And it's Shedeur time. It's time for everybody to get hype on him. And let's see if he can actually win a game. Let's see if he can go out there against a superior team with a group of receivers that are not considered elite, and let's see if he can win a game. He's got the first 2 games under his belt. This week, he has a full week to prepare against the 49ers. It's at home again in Cleveland. You have the best defense in the NFL behind you. Can he replicate the success that he had against Vegas? Can he do better than he did against Vegas? This is a game that I think determines who starts for this team the rest of the season, and I can't wait to see how he performs. I think the first quarter is going to be very, very telling in this game because if you establish the tone early and let the defense do the work, you're going to be in a great spot, and that'll put you in the good favor of the Browns coaching staff and the good favor of the Browns fans. And I think this would be a huge game for the Cleveland Browns. And that's a wrap for this week in the NFL. But real quick, let's take a look at what's going on in the NBA. And we're just going to focus on one thing for now, and that is the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Oklahoma City Thunder are 17-1 currently. And when you look at who has done this before and who's been around this pace, the only team that pops up, at least in the past 20 years, is the 73-9 Golden State Warriors. And the question is this team comparable to that team? Now, obviously the star power, not as much. You got Steph Curry and Shea, and then after that it's kind of like, okay, Kevin Durant came after, actually, so it would be Klay Thompson, which they don't really have a Klay Thompson on the Thunder. Then you got Draymond Green, who was really good back then, much better than he is now, and we don't really have a Draymond Green on the Thunder. So, but when you compare the two teams, though, I think the Thunder team lines up against anybody. They have a roster that I think you'd be comfortable playing a 15-man rotation over there. I really do. They have so many good players, and it comes from the amount of first-round picks and even second-round picks that they've hit on. I mean, their A.J. Mitchell is a rookie this year and is playing unbelievable basketball. They haven't even gotten to see their first-round pick from a few years ago, Nikola Topic. And then they're still 17-1, and they're going to lose some guys this year, and they're going to replace them with 4 more picks. They have really set themselves up for a dynasty, and if they don't have a dynasty, it would be a disaster in coaching or a disaster in injury, because this team is on pace to be better than that Warriors dynasty was because they're set up for so long. I could see this team winning 7 championships over the next 15 years. I really could. There's no team in the league right now, I think, that even remotely compares to them as far as a roster goes. And obviously Shea is the MVP, and he's been the best point guard in the league the past 2 years. Talk about what you want with foul baiting. This dude is a consistent scorer. He's sitting out fourth quarters. I believe he's at 9 of the 18 games. He has sat out the fourth quarter because they were up by so much. I don't know what to say about this team. They are that good. They are an amazing team. I could see them winning more than 73 games this year. In fact, I'll make my hot take right now. The Thunder are going to go 75-7 this year. That is my hot take. I think they win 75 games. I think they walk through the playoffs because no other team outside of the Pistons, who I think if you put the Pistons against the Thunder head-to-head, it's not going to work. I don't see the Pistons doing anything against this Thunder's team with how good this defensive front court is and how big the defensive backcourt is with Hartenstein and Holmgren. I mean, the team isn't even healthy right now. Jalen Williams hasn't even played yet, and this team has won 17 games. They are on pace to do some amazing things, and my hot take of the year is that they win 75 games, and I am not kidding when I say that. And before we go, one last thing. Let's talk about a legend who is going to be retiring at the end of the year. That is Chris Paul. Chris Paul had a long NBA career. He's playing with the Clippers one more time, and he's kind of been like a reserve player this year. Nothing crazy happening for him. He's kind of taken a huge step back, which he decided that he's going to be retiring at the end of the year. So the point god, as he calls himself and how as social media calls him, will be retiring. Has a great career, one of the best point guards, pure point guards we've ever seen. So congrats to Chris Paul on a long career, and hopefully you get some playoff success this year. But that'll be it. That's it. That's a wrap for this week in Stevenson Sports. This is Connor High. Thank you for listening. Have a safe and happy Thanksgiving, and we will be back next week to do it all again.